What is up, ladies and lads, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Fox, and today we're gonna be talking about Payday 3 and specifically Payday 3 build. So, Payday 2, one of my favorite games of all time. I was very excited, obviously, for Payday 3's release. The release itself was an absolute shit show. As you probably know, the servers were not having it, but luckily those have supposedly been resolved now and people are actually able to play the game now, which is great. So what I have today is three different builds, basically for any content that you want to be doing. Payday 3 is a game where the skill system was reworked in a way that I feel like allows you to be a lot more creative, but there are still definitely like skills that you absolutely want to have in all of your builds. So the builds that I have are going to be two different loud builds, one aimed on people who like ADSing and one aimed on people who don't, and finally a stealth build with basically everything that you'd ever want for a stealth build. So let's get right to it. So first and foremost, we have the loud ADS build. I feel like this is just the jack of all stars. And I'll just do a quick skill rundown. So we start off by taking ammo specialist. This is to get us access to the rest of the tree, as well as to increase our reserve ammo capacity, which is nice to just in general not run out of ammo. I basically never tend to run out of ammo with this build, which is obviously nice. And also one thing to real quickly throw in here, you can basically use any weapon for these builds. Like the second build that is focused on hipfire, it has more emphasis on shotguns, and the first one would be a build that I think you would rather use on stuff like different rifles. SMGs you can kind of use on either one depending on your playstyle. So just throwing it out there. And as for the throwables, everything like that, you can throwable your gadget, you can use basically anything. The only thing that I will say is for the armor, for your deployable, I would always use armor bag. Maybe if you're bringing 4 armor bags, it's maybe a little bit overkill, but armor bag is easily the best one. And this build definitely utilizes the armor bag. And for your armor, I think you want the 3 armor or 4 armor for something that we cover a little bit later. And since dodge is gone, your armor doesn't really regenerate any faster, and you really need armor since your health doesn't regen as easily. I feel like just having more armor is more valuable. Also, you don't really use that much mobility as you do tended to with Payday 2. The difference between a 4 armor and 1 armor, one chunk armors is noticeable, but it is not worth the trade-off at all. I prefer using the 3 chunk one, since I like having a little bit of speed still to myself, but I definitely think that and the 4 one are your best choices. For the rest of the build, you can use anything. But yeah, starting off with this build, we have ammo specialist. So this is to get us access to the tree, as well as to not run out of ammo. Next we pick a scrounger. As long as you have edge, ammo drops have a 10% chance of replenishing one of your troubles. Also, I'm using pd3.gg. I'll have the author's name at on the screen. I found this on Reddit. It's a very handy site. I definitely recommend using it if you want to be theater crafting your builds. Scrounger and plate up. So as long as you have grit, ammo drops will instantly regenerate your current ammo chunk. This is just an easy way of saving on when you have to use your armor bags. And scrounger, the reason why we really want our throwables is gonna come a little later. Next we go on to the mower 3, which is basically this is a tree that you can actually skip for this build. If you want to use these 4 points for anything else, you are completely fine to do that. These are basically quality of life trees, skills. So the initial mower pickup is only to get access to the rest of the tree. And I don't know how to pronounce it like that. Next we pick up recoil handling. As long as you have edge, your weapon recoil is reduced. It's just a nice quality of life skill. If you don't need or want it, you can use this for anything else. Ammo funnel. As long as you have edge, ammo you pick up is directly added to your equipped weapons magazine, and if the magazine is full, it's added to the reserve instead, and that combos really nicely with replenish, where as long as you have edge, you automatically pick up ammo dropped by enemies you have killed. So this creates a really nice combo where you rarely have to reload. We'll have something a little bit later though where you want to be reloading. And unfortunately from my testing, I don't think Plate Up works with replenish. But I like playing with friends, so obviously there are still situations where there are ammo drops that I can use for Plate Up. But that is also what makes this not a mandatory skill. And I'm still playing around with having both, but I am starting to lean towards maybe I'll let go of replenish in favor of another skill, but still playing around with it. Ammo funnel is very nice though for especially like certain weapons that have a lower magazines. We have, like I said, we have a reason we want to be reloading a little bit later though, so we'll cover that when we get there. Next we go into the armor tree, which this I feel like is the one thing that no matter what you're running in your loud build, I feel like this tree and these skills are something that you always want. So the default tank, by just unlocking this skill, you increase the regeneration speed of your armor chunks by 20%, as well as get 2 extra charges to your armor bag, making it a 4 chest now. And extra plates simply adds 2 more charges to make it 6. And then finally we also have armor up, where interacting with any armor bag will restore an additional chunk. So this means that every time you interact with your armor bag, which has 6 charges, you use 1 to restore 2 chunks. That is just incredible value for how important and crucial armor is, at least for now in the game. So I definitely think like these, no matter which difficulty, no matter what loud content you're playing, I feel like you always want these. And armor up is also the reason why, even like in the first place, I don't think the extra speed and mobility is worth it for using the 1 chunk and 2 chunk armors, but armor up is what makes the case even against them even stronger, because even with the 2 chunk you would have to be without armor to fully utilize armor up, and if you're ever without armor and you don't play, basically if you don't play normal, you're going to be melted. Like on overkill, you cannot survive without armor essentially. My preference is the 3 chunk one, since I like the little bit of mobility, but the 4 chunk one probably is just objectively the best one, but just use which one you prefer yourself. Next, the sharpshooter tree, we pick up this ace actually, since performing a headshot while aiming the cell will refresh your edge. The activation condition, where you have to stand still for 1.5 seconds while ADSing to activate edge, is a little bit annoying, but after that it's really easy to keep it going with the ace sharpshooter. Next we take a long shot. This is another skill that you don't need depending on the guns that you're using in the build. If you're using marksman rifles, this is basically wasted, but I like playing around with different weapons, and this is just nice to have to deal with pesky snipers that are sometimes very long way ahead, ways afar from you. Sorry, I can't speak. The most important thing that you want this tree for is cutting shot. So I don't know if it's a skill issue, but for me personally, like those is obviously the hardest thing to deal with in Payday 3 thus far, but shields mess me up, man, and I really struggle with dealing with shields. So cutting shot enables, like, as long as you have edge, your armor penetration is increased, you can easily just penetrate the visors, you can easily then stagger the shields and deal with them that way. And even if you're not struggling on dealing with shields, the heavy SWATs are obviously armored, so cutting shot just helps with dealing with those as well. So definitely pick this skill up. I will have to give a honorable mention to the Escapist 3. So whenever you sprint for at least 3 seconds, gain rush. The basic one is very good. It's just a very easy access to rush, which gives you 10% movement speed, and Swift just gives you a base sprinting speed increase of 10% as long as you are masked on. So these are some skills. I guess I'll cover the quality of life skills here. So if you don't want to be picking stuff like the mower tree or a long shot, like some stuff that I would really recommend considering are these like basic mobility skills. Sprint loaded just for basically easier reloading, since you don't have to stop your sprinting, and speed aim if you want to ADS fast. So we'll cover a couple more as we go to the last couple trees. Next one, we take the demo tree, basic one. All your AoE on your shots and throwables that are explosive is increased. But this is not really what we care for, although I tend to use flashes myself the most, so it's nice for them. But what we care about here is cooker. So when you hold a throwable for at least 1.5 seconds before throwing it, you gain grit. This is going to be our easiest way of getting grit. And obviously, since we have Scrounger from the ammo tree, our supply of throwables is going to be basically endless. So that's just a really nice and easy way of having access to grit whenever you want to. Extra munitions, another honorable mention. Obviously with Scrounger, it's a little bit wasted, but sometimes when you don't want to be using your throwables, you can actually stack up more. And then if you get into a tight spot where you have to use up multiple ones to crowd control, then it's nice to have. Next one, we go into the Enforcer tree. In my opinion, probably currently the most powerful tree after the armor tree, which basically just feels mandatory. Enforcer, we pick up only the basic one where you kill 2 enemies within 4 seconds that are within 5 meters from you, you gain grit. So this is another way of activating grit if you don't happen to have your throwables. But the real reason why we take this is to get access to the rest of the tree, where quick reload gives you increased reload speed as long as you have both grit and edge. So this obviously a little bit contradicts with ammo funnel, which is another reason why I say like the motor tree is optional, but I still like having like this either way. So I like basically a brain off playstyle, so this helps with that. I don't have to think because I can have either or and go with the situation. But the real reason to go into the Enforcer tree is combat reload. So whenever you reload a weapon while the magazine still has ammo, you refresh edge and grit. For someone like me who has a very bad habit of like reloading prematurely all the time, I can now get rewarded for it. So this, I feel like, apart from the armor skills, I feel like combat reload might currently be the single best skill in the entire game. This essentially means that once you activate edge and grit, now obviously for edge we have the headshots, which is an easy way of keeping going. But with this, you don't even have to worry about that. The only thing you have to worry about is not shooting your entire magazine before reloading. The only thing that this is annoying for is the Red Fox sniper rifle, the overkill weapon, which I prefer over the nade launcher. Obviously having a very slow reload speed on that, this makes this a little bit awkward to use. Sometimes I even drop it to shoot my other gun just to shoot a single bullet and reload it and then swap back to it, not to waste ammo or time with the Red Fox. But combat reload, definitely, I feel like this skill alone is a reason to go into the Enforcer tree. And finally, we have the Manipulator tree. We pick up the basic skill to ties up and you try it up and trade hostage faster, but this is to get us into Negotiator, where trading hostage for first aid now yields an additional first aid kit, or first aid pack, sorry, in this game. The real reason for this is now we have an actual way of healing, because we want to be using the armor bag, we don't want to be using the medic bag. This gives us a steady supply of healing. And the way I like to play with hostages myself is like initially when you get into the heist, you trade one hostage almost always. Sometimes I do the second wave. I never do more than that because at that point I feel like you're wasting too many resources and the time gained isn't worth it anymore. If you go more into the Negotiator tree, then you can obviously go for that. Go for more time. But the way I like to do it is just get a little bit of extra time at the start of the heist. Then after you survive the first police assault wave and then you get to trade for more resources. I tend to trade basically every single hostage in, unless I'm playing a map where I really want a hostage to be kept alive to prevent naders from nading us. I basically swap all hostages on the map for first aid kits, and now you have the map littered with first aid kits and you can have healing whenever you need to. So I feel like this is a pretty underrated skill. I haven't basically anyone seen it. I feel like just like the Manipulator tree is underutilized, but I definitely feel like the shining star of the tree is Negotiator. For the rest of it, there is nothing else here. But like I said, the build is very flexible. You have multiple points that you can put into it. Anything that you like. The entire motor tree, like I said, launch it depending on your play style. Even stuff like quick reload and ammo funnel and replenish and plate up even overlapping with each other, gives you a lot of leeway, and also makes the build like you can definitely like leave some of these out, and it can function very well when you're not level 100 yet as well. So I just feel like it works as a great template. Now let's dive into the next one though, which is the gunslinger focused build. So this is focusing more on shotguns and focusing on hipfire. So I don't have to explain what the skills actually do anymore, so we'll just cover what they do. But if we have new ones, then obviously I'll cover them. So we can pick up the same things in the ammo tree, ammo specialist, scrounger, and plate up for the same reason as last time. I have a sprint loaded here. With shotguns, I tend to be sprinting around a lot. I want to be reloading while I do that. Then we take the same armor skills that you always want: tank, extra plates, and armor up. Then we go into this escapist tree, and we actually pick up escapist as well as swift. When I'm running with shotguns, I want to be as fast as possible, while not still sacrificing survivability with picking up a lighter armor. Then we go to the enforcer tree. We actually ace this time the enforcer itself, since that's going to be our way of getting edge. We don't go into sharpshooter this time. And then we take obviously quick reload and combat reload as last time, but we also pick up face to face, where if you have edge and grit, you deal extra damage to targets within 5 meters of you, and shotgun off, where killing an enemy within 8 meters of you has a chance to stagger all non-special enemies within 5 meters of you. We're gonna be on everyone's faces, so we want to be buffing our shotgun damage obviously as far as we can. Next, we once again pick up the manipulator tree specialty, where manipulator and negotiator are picked up. You have some maps like 99 boxes where this isn't really useful, since there aren't too many civs on the area, but for most heists you're gonna be able to use this. For those maps you can just swap away from it if you'd like. And then the shining star of this build is Gunslinger. So we pick up Gunslinger Ace, and what Gunslinger does is whenever you switch your weapon you gain edge. That's another way of getting edge in addition to the enforcer one. And the only problem here is that if you ADS, you will end any edge you have active. But whenever you switch your weapon, you can immediately activate it again, so that's not really a problem. And the aced version of Gunslinger just simply gives you a permanent edge, essentially. As long as you're headshotting when you're in hipfire, you will refresh all edge that you have. Next, we have on the hip, where as long as you have edge, your hipfire spread is decreased. We're mostly focusing on shotguns, so this is why it's very nice. And then we have heavy hipfire, where as long as you have edge, hipfire shots will cause heavy stagger. This is a nice way of dealing with shields, since you can immediately stagger shields as well, but also to deal with heavy swats that you're not. If you can't one-shot them, you can stagger them, and then you can just finish them off with another shot. So that's just very nice for that. So yeah, that's the shotgun focus build. And finally, we'll go into the stealth build. And while I said the other two were very flexible, this essentially has, I think, there's one skill that I would probably say is flexible, but for the most part, it's kind of like Payday 2, where you have just skills that are objectively just incredible for stealth. There's still definitely ways to play around with skills, but these are what I would recommend. So first we start off in the infiltrator tree. So infiltrator, we pick up ace. So the basic version, when you pick a lock or kill an enemy with a throwing knife, you gain a refresh rush. And ace, whenever guard begins to detect, you gain rush. Rush is just nice for obviously movement in stealth. In stealth, you obviously want to be using the lightest vest, since if you're not planning on going loud at any point of the heist, then you just want the movement speed. And the reason why rush is also very nice is as long as you have rush, a successful lock jiggle will immediately pick the lock. This just makes things easier and smoother for you, obviously. And then we have bagger, just a quality of life skill, but as long as you have rush, you bag loot faster. Basically, you're gonna have permanent rush, so this is gonna be always active. Then we pick up escapist, which once again gives us rush when you sprint for at least 3 seconds, and swift to give us more base sprinting speed when masked on. You can do a lot of heists completely masked off, where this is sort of wasted, but you don't really need other points. So if you really want to min-max, you can take this off when you're doing heists like that, but I just like having it because then you don't have to worry about it. Manipulator, you tap on trade hostages faster. This is just for the type thing, it's just more convenient. This is a skill that you don't need, you can use it for anything else and don't worry about it too much. Oh, sorry. Next we have Grifter, so we pick up the basic Grifter where as long as you mask off, if you're within 1 meter of a civilian employee, you get rush, which means you're basically gonna be always in permanent rush. Walk the walk, as long as you're unmasked and have rush, cameras can't detect you trespassing on private areas. And same thing, as long as you're unmasked, have rush, employees will ignore you performing illegal actions. So basically just means that the only thing you have to worry about is guards when you are doing unmasked stealth. And then we have open mic where you just answer radius faster. Another way to just speed up and make things much more smoother for you. Then we have the hacker tree where we pick up literally everything. So we ace hacker to get 2 different runtimes where you can now access cameras as well as to overload cameras to stun them. Basically never use the stun, but the additional runtime is nice. Secure loop where you can use one runtime to basically disable a camera, and unlike Payday 2, you don't have to be constantly reapplying it. As long as you have it on a camera, you don't have to worry about it. It's just when you put it on another, then it disappears from the previous one. Appliance breach, another thing that is very niche. You don't really need it, but sometimes it's nice to be able to activate lures from a distance. Basically this is just here so you don't have to wait in a lot of situations as much as you would otherwise. Routed ping, where you can spend a runtime to now basically have your cameras work as markers. So if you have a very dense area when it comes to guards and there is a camera as well, it's gonna be nice to spend a runtime to just have the camera marking the cards. And also important here, I forgot to mention that the targets also don't count towards your marked target limit, which is nice. Strategy is another thing, like the extra marks are nice. So this is also something to consider if there are some skills that you don't want to pick up yourself. Glitch protocol, you can hack a guard's radio to cause a disturbance and then they basically have to stop and deal with it. You still must have, basically you must be on range and see them to do it. And the ability is on cooldown, but this is just another thing where if a guard is patrolling inconveniently, this can help you be smoother. And single catch, very nice. You can answer radius remotely if you have a line of sight. So sometimes when I mess up in stealth and I get spotted from across the screen, it's nice if I can pop the guard and then I can answer remotely if there are no other guards in the area. Because I definitely have had situations where if I were to go to the guard's body, I would definitely risk getting spotted, but the guard dies in a relatively convenient spot or just away from you in a way where you can't reach it in time. This has multiple times saved me when I have been spotted on another level, and I definitely would have otherwise made it to the radio. Finally, we have a CQC Specialist, the takedown 3 essentially. When you perform a takedown, you gain a refresh rush. Not really needed, you have so much rush generation anyway, but what is nice is you perform takedowns 20% faster. If you ever have to take down a guard, then this is just nice for that. And then finally, when you take down a guard, you immediately also answer radius. This is just another nice quality of life thing for the build. And there you have it. There are all 3 of my builds that basically I use to fit any playstyle that I feel like playing at the time and whichever gear that I'm using at the time. So hopefully you found this informative and helpful, and hopefully you have had the chance to actually play Payday 3. If you have, tell me what you think of it, because there definitely are things about it that I like more, and definitely things that I like less than Payday 2. But it's still a very fun game, and hopefully we have a bright future ahead of us. Hopefully the DLC that we get is good, and hopefully we also get nice free patches as well. And hopefully the Always Online doesn't bite us in the ass more than it already has. Anyways, that is all I have for you today. Hopefully, like I said, you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Peace.